What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation starts right now on GrindersLive, taking you all the way up the lock, all the way up the first pitch. 10-gamer here on a movie Monday, on a Labor Day. Shout out to those hanging out with us in the chat. Still grinding away. We're in month 6. Month 6 starts today. NFL right around the corner, literally like right around the corner. It is starting this Thursday. This is an NFL week. It's myself, the human computer, Justin Van Zuten, STL Cards. I feel like I was thinking about this, Cards. I saw your name pop up on the schedule. And so when was the last time I worked with Cards? Every once in a while, we get the crossover conversation for a minute or so. I don't know if it was all the way back to Sirius, just what kind of way our schedules kind of work out. But I feel like it's been a while. But it's great seeing you. I'm happy to talk a little baseball here for the next hour and change until we yield to Crunch Time. Crunch Time is Erik Beimfohr, TastefulTides, Tim Buell, as well as Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Happy Monday, Justin.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a show together, so happy to be able to do. Usually can't do the earlier shows during the week with the work schedule, but works out on a holiday just fine, so that's nice. And celebrating the fact that I'm not going to have to wake up early in the morning to write the big articles on Sundays anymore for the rest of the year. So obviously nobody's going to care about baseball on Sundays going forward with NFL season getting kick started. So we'll still have you covered with those throughout the week, and I'll still be doing them on Saturdays. But it's getting up at 5 a.m. to do those on Saturdays and Sundays. You get a little bit tired once it hits September. So it'll be nice to be able to sleep in a little bit on Sundays and just focus on football.
The first week of NFL, the prize pools for baseball is like the saddest prize pools
ever. Oh, yeah, it's awful. Yeah. It's if you're still playing baseball on Sundays going forward, you are a true diehard, and I love baseball, and even I probably won't play on Sundays. So, yeah, it's
same.
The $200 to first doesn't really move the needle too much.
What kind of content are you doing for football? I know college football, you have your toes in that as well. I guess you have a little bit of a reprieve for golf too. So you're multiple sports you get to chill on.
Yeah, it becomes a little. So I just focus on the college. So I stepped away from doing the NFL content for the most part. So just focusing on baseball and golf and college football. So, but yeah, the college is just ramping up. And the first, it's a nice way the schedule breaks with baseball slowing down just a little bit. Because the first month of college football is pretty difficult, getting used to there's so much turnover in college football, the new names, transfers and all that it takes a while to get your feet, under you with where everybody's at. So, pretty much focus on college from a content perspective and what's left of baseball for now.
We might touch on it just a little bit with tiers, but I'm curious, any takeaways? We've already had week 0, week 1. UCF, of course, still undefeated. I know that everybody's excited about that. But anything that you saw that that you didn't? Obviously, it's hard to predict college football. Yeah. Like the rankings at the start of the season and then the end of the season. There's some teams that are probably going to be top 10, and
the preseason polls in college football are pretty worthless with all the changes these days and the transfer portal and NIL money and all that stuff. So it's really difficult to peg. With so much turnover on an annual basis. I mean, I guess anybody watched the games over the weekend, it's no surprise that Texas probably isn't the number 1 team in the country. For sure not right now. Almost didn't even score against Ohio State. A couple of those nationally televised games were on Saturday were pretty well bust. The LSU Clemson game wasn't that spectacular either, but got a pretty good one last night. I think the Miami Notre Dame game was pretty good. I was kind of on an island with my Miami pick on scores and odds. We had a lot of people on the Irish last night, so I got a leg up on that one. It was nice to see Miami get that win, and I just tend to think that Notre Dame's a bit overrated, and especially with the new quarterback there. So I was impressed with Miami last night, and their defense looks a lot better. And I think they'll be a sneaky playoff contender, I think.
Death, taxes, Notre Dame a little bit overrated, right? Is that does it matter
pretty
what
much.
Year?
It's always. I mean, Miami was like plus 125, so and with a freshman quarterback on the road against a transfer senior quarterback, it just that line made no sense to me.
I watched actually a good chunk of that game, and it was great to see the atmosphere for the U. I mean, I know people are going to say the U is back. I'm not going to say that just yet. Of course, the legacy of the U, stretches back 30, 35 years, 40 years into the 80s. I saw Jimmy Johnson was there to kick the game off, but it was cool to see a lot of the old school guys were there. Ray Lewis and Michael Irvin, Jim Kelly, a lot of the old school Hurricanes. But at least for one game, they are back, and we already have the bar set, I guess, for catch of the year, right? Now the bar has been set for catch of the year. I'm sure.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. CJ Daniels with the one-handed leaping grab for a touchdown, and they have a freshman, Malachi Toney, that had a really good game last night as well. So signs are looking good for Miami if they're it's only a matter of time before Cristobal tries to blow a game, but at least last night they were able to hang on.
10-game baseball slate. We're here for an hour and change till we yield to crunch time. Weather-wise, and Roth is coming on in an hour or so. Let's check out his weather report. Looks pretty clean. Chicago, Minnesota is green, yellow. Really nothing of concern. I'll go ahead and drop it in chat for the people. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button and subscribe and turn on those notifications, do all those things to help us keep the lights on. And again, we're talking football because, of course, tons of football content, all throughout the week. That's why you turn on those notifications. That's why you sign up for the channel here on the YouTube. Sunday mornings, I think 9:30. Don't hold me to it. 9:30. I'll be kicking off the shows with Tim and Bobby Gomes, taking you guys all the kickoff. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's all sorts of content as well. Cannot wait for football. But yeah, we still have today's 10 gamer on a Movie Monday. Let's give that first clue, by the way. Car, just as your first time to play Movie Monday.
I'm the perfect person to play Movie Monday. I'll tell you that. I'm not going to get this. So
So what you can do is what Chop always does, or whatever else you can get. If you want to play along, obviously, in the private chat, you have some guesses. Chop does a really good job. He actually sometimes beats the entire chat, but the chat is going to guess in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. You probably wonder why sometimes you host the weekends. Cards, you're like, why is everybody just saying all these random movies? Well, why are people just randomly saying these things? I don't get the context of it. Well, here's some context. First clue is American. I'm going to give you 5 individual clues throughout the show, every 10, 15 minutes, give or take. You get one clue guess per clue drop. There's no mass multi-entering, just one guess per clue drop. And the first person to tell me what movie I'm talking about here on a Movie Monday, get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium, football, baseball, basketball. And now when I say football, you actually get the football. Like I've been saying football, you're not really getting it the last couple weeks. Now there's actually football. There's going to be football content for you as well. So, and if you want, dealer's choice, you want scores and odds, you can get that, whichever you prefer. Get in that Discord. Tell me what movie I'm talking about. 10 gamer cards, 10 gamer. We have a Coors slate. So, San Francisco, one of the biggest, if not the biggest ballpark jump in all of baseball, going from San Fran to Colorado. They have a team total of 6 and change, locked in for 9 because they're on the road, facing Chase Dollander. A lot of these lineups we're not going to see. Maybe we'll get at crunch time. Maybe we'll get them at some point, in the middle of the slate because, again, it's a 10-gamer, and there are, I think, 3 games. Yeah, 3 games that start after 2:15 and at 4:05 or beyond. 4 and change. Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and then the aforementioned San Francisco.
Yeah, I doubt we'll have those probably by lock. It's iffy when those 4:00 games, whether they're out by 1 p.m. It seems pretty rare.
Yeah, which, I mean, back in the day, this is the two of us have been around forever, but back in the day, it's remember, West Coast stuff, sometimes people just, they want their instant gratification. They're not going to sit around and wait for lineup. So sometimes back in the lineup, there are exceptions like Coors and the Dodgers, but otherwise, you see a lot of the West Coast teams, people just ignore because they want to see their players strike out immediately. I just submitted my lineup. I want to get some action. I can't.
Personally, I love postponing my disappointment. You get more of a sweat when you're not disappointed till 4:00.
Well, you haven't lost yet. You're going to lose in 3 more.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's right.
You have 3 more hours of equity, sweat equity, I suppose. But we're probably not going to get those slaps like you said. We have a really weird slate cards, and I was digging in last night and trying to figure out some angles, and I love Mizorowski. Obviously the arm is electric, but the two big K guys are facing two of the more contact hitting offenses in Philadelphia, taking on the Brewers and the Miz. And then we have Hunter Green, who, his upside is immense, but he's facing a Toronto team that's, pretty pesky. And then you have Spencer Strider, good weather. It's 7.5 in Chicago. This is the one ballpark that weather matters the most. Winds blowing in. It's in the 70s, blowing in from dead center. But Spencer Strider has been an absolute disaster of late. I was looking at his velocity stuff. That really hasn't changed, but the strikeout stuff the last, if you go on Put IQ last 30 days, it's been not good. And he's going to get rostered. He's going to be rostered. And then you got your guy who is an enigma always, like for 7 or 8, 9 years, Sonny Gray. You never really know what you're going to get from Sonny Gray. He should be fine, I guess. A negative ballpark shift for the Athletics. I guess he'll be fine. I'm having a hard time figuring out my pitchers. I have a couple guys that I like enough. They won't accept if you just submit nobody. Yeah, you have to click on a couple guys on DK. I'm curious how you're seeing today's slate. Give me the old overview before we fully dive in as far as talking about pitchers.
Yeah, this is a really difficult slate. I regret. I was excited to come on and do a show with you since it's been so long, but I regret it when I look at the slate. It's just a whole big mess of nothingness almost. It's good but not great in a lot of places. And it's weird when you see, like, if you look at, right, we cover the stats and you just look at the names with Green and Mizorowski and Strider and Sonny Gray. Out of those four, Sonny Gray is actually the only one that has a 6.5 strikeout prop today, without heavy plus on the over. Like Green's at 5.5, Miz is at 5.5, Strider's at 5.5. They're all pretty similar overall when you factor in the juice, but it's just weird to see that. And we know the Brewers are going to be cautious with Mizorowski. There's no reason to push his pitch count limit. And that's my biggest gripe with him is the pitch count, because he's a high walk guy. He's a high strikeout guy. So high walk and high strikeout guys rack up pitches in a hurry, just the way it's going to be. And his pitch counts have been, since the All-Star break, 64, 80, 54, 78, 93. And it tends to be when he has a spike start, they watch him a little bit more in the next start. So that 93 was actually his season high, his last time out, and he still only got through 5 innings. So there's just no ceiling with Mizorowski right now with how they're going to manage his workload. Plus he's facing the Phillies. I just can't get there today. I love the talent. I think eventually when he gets a 100 pitch leash, he'll be really good. But for DFS purposes, it's tough to go there right now. And you mentioned the issues with Strider. And what's funny is the comp that I think of with Strider, you look at the velocity still there, but the stuff's getting hit. Obviously, I've kept a close eye on Ryan Helsley because he was the closer for the Cardinals. They traded him to the Mets. They got some prospects back. And Helsley's been nothing short of dreadful for the Mets. I hate to say this in front of Steve, but Helsley's just done nothing for them in high leverage situations. And he's got a great fastball, right? He throws 102 and he's got a great slider, but hitters just learn to not swing at the slider and they gear up for 102. And then when it's center cut, they hit it a long way. And stuff like that, I think, is what's happening with Strider now. Hitters are just laying off the breaking stuff. And when the fastball comes and it's not located where he wants it, they hit it a long way. So questions with Mizorowski, questions with Strider. I think Green is fine if you're just playing for upside. But if you're playing like a single entry or cash games today, like it feels weird, but I think Sonny Gray is the top choice.
Yeah, just looking at the K rates, like you kind of referred to, the Miz in the season was 37%, 36.9% when it comes to the Ks. But the issue is the matchup against Philly, they strike out like the projected line of 20%. I think I'm rounding up as far as 20% versus righties. The walks can be, dicey at times, 11.9%. That's too high. And then his pitch count, they're always kind of babying it. You mentioned Hunter Green, 30.8%, the two biggest, K rates in the slate. Again, another tough matchup. Like they will let him go. So it's possible he can go 105, 106, 110 pitches. So there's certainly some upside. But again, that matchup is not, perfect for strikeouts. Manaea almost 30%, 29.8% as far as the Ks. But he just like, if you watch him, I don't know how much Sean Manaea you've watched. He just labors out there. It seems to tire early, having a hard time just getting through 5 sometimes. I feel like I don't have a stat for this. I feel like he gets fouled off more than like any other pitcher. I'm just making that up, but I sort of feel like that's true. If somebody can get a stat on that, I'd love to know. And I agree that Sonny Gray is in the conversation. Manaea falls apart in the 4th. I know producer Steve is well aware watching his Mets. I don't know, maybe if it's like a third time through kind of thing with him. But certainly he has strikeout upside, 30% Ks. In Detroit, some of their better hitters hit from the left-hand side as well. It's really weird as far as the ownership. And I agree with you. Sonny Gray just seems like fine. Like he's probably not going to hurt you. He's probably not going to make you, but you're probably still live if you roster Sonny Gray, and you're saving some salary. I sort of like, and I don't feel amazing about it, and for all the reasons, like who's left standing, I kind of like Brian Bayo. And I wish he had bigger K upside, but it's 20% in the last 30 days or so. This Cleveland team, we think of Cleveland, at least I think of Cleveland. I want to pick on Cleveland with a lefty, right? They're horrible against lefties. Well, they're not much better against righties. J-Ram's really good. Kwan's annoying because, he's going to make contact and have those 8, 9, 10 pitch at bats sometimes. But collectively, and I can pull up their specific lineup in just a second, but, collectively, as far as, how they hit against right-handers on the season, I'm pulling up my stuff from the expert survey. And for some reason, it is not cooperating. I got to find. Oh, here it is. Okay. It took me a second to get there. So the active roster, they have the 13th highest K rate, somewhere in the middle, which is better than it's been in season past, because in the seasons past, they were kind of like one of the most contact heavy teams in baseball. 28th in WRC plus, 30th in WOBA, and 22nd in ISO. So not a lot of punch. Also, let me see if this has changed, but earlier we were looking at pretty positive pitching environment for Boston, more so than it typically is. Weather Edge was saying it's not the best day for hitting baseballs. 71 is the temp. The wind's blowing in about 9 miles per hour from center field. Runs, taking an 8.4% hit in an 135 game sample. Homers down 4%. Not immense, but a slight downgrade. So Cards, I sort of like Brian Bayo, and I know ownership likes Bailey Ober. So here, even ownership's kind of shrugging a little bit, right? Sonny Gray 32%, Manaea's 31%, Strider 28%, over 25. So that's the 4 that are kind of in a grouping. I just don't want to play the super popular guy. I shouldn't say super popular. We'll see how it kind of lands and this stuff changes. In Bailey Ober, who gives up more than 2 homers per 9. I know it's
would you say that if your intuition applies, you can just play whoever you want?
I wouldn't say that, but I know somebody who would. I feel like I know somebody who would say,
I didn't cue this up properly.
There it is. I don't know how accessible it is. I should have bought some more time. I don't know how long it takes producer Steve to get to it, but now I know Blender says play whoever you want, but like you're not going to catch me playing. Let's see, like what I definitely wouldn't play today. Chase Dollander. Like if you can play Chase Dollander, play whoever you want. Sure, you're an adult, make your own decisions. Not what I would do. I wouldn't play Taijuan Walker. Wouldn't advise that.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still going to have like 12 guys that are at least whatever you can make a case for, right? It's just it's that kind of day. I know Cheese in his article wrote up like Gray Manaea is the optimal combo, and fine. Yeah. Gray Manaea is fine. Everything is just kind of fine. If we're looking for secondary, I kind of agree on Bailey Ober as chalk. The White Sox aren't as high of a strikeout group against right-handed pitching. I don't love that.
I'm playing some White Sox, I think. We'll talk about that.
I think
I like a couple White Sox.
The interesting lower-owned options, and Bayo, I kind of agree there. The other guys that I think I would be interested in, Parker Messick's been really good for Cleveland in his first couple of starts. Boston still has really good metrics against lefties, but I think they've probably been hitting over their collective heads a little bit. So I'm okay with Parker Messick, and I kind of like Luis Morales a good bit too. One of the really highly touted prospects for the A's, The Cardinals have a whole mess of injuries right now. Like if you look at the Cardinals lineup,
Jimmy Crooks is not a real person, Cards. I refuse to believe Jimmy Crooks exists. Have you seen him?
I have. He had his first major league home run yesterday. So
Nathan Church. There are some names.
They got some names. They got Crooks and Church at the bottom. Prieto as well. They've called up. Like, look at it. The bottom four is Prieto, Walker, Crooks, and Church. Mason Wynn is playing injured. Like, it's just an awful lineup right now. Morales has really intriguing stuff. He gets a lot of Ks. The Cardinals are only projected for 4 runs. And I again, a different slate. Maybe it's not all that exciting, but today, I think Morales is absolutely viable. I wish he was a little bit cheaper than 8,500 on DK, but that's also going to keep the ownership down a little bit. So he'd be the other guy I'd throw into that mix.
So this changed a little bit overnight, or maybe I was looking at the bat stuff. I was kind of bouncing back and forth and Cardi's the bat and like the RG projections. But I know last night it was popping a little bit more for Luis Garcia, who we haven't seen pitch in a year plus. He hasn't pitched this season. I think it's Tommy John he's coming back from. He was pitching okay in the minors. And this Angels team, I assume Taylor Ward is not. He was carted off last night, so I assume Taylor Ward is not playing today for the Angels. They strike out a ton versus righties. It's already a lineup that's, front loaded and it falls off pretty quickly. After when Adele's hitting cleanup and he's got some holes in his swing. I think Luis Garcia is kind of interesting. He also threw, I think 6 innings, I want to say, and like 80 pitches or so. I know the pitch count was pretty good in that, like, it wasn't to the point where I'm like, oh man, he's not gonna go too deep. And like, if I get 5 or 6 innings out of Luis Garcia, I think that's of note. And he's pretty cheap at 7.5. I want Cavedas in that lineup, by the way. He strikes out a ton. We don't have it just yet, but it falls off pretty badly. Is Garcia somebody we're considering? Again, we haven't seen him in a while, but is rehab essentially stretched out? And this Angels team is, if you want strikeouts, this is the team to pick on.
Yeah, he's about as stretched out, I think, as he's going to get. I think they, let's see. I was trying to find more detailed stats from his rehab outing. I
think it was 38 strikeouts. Go ahead.
6 innings, 1 run, 5 Ks, 70-ish pitches, I think, and I think he made 8 or 9 rehab starts. I mean, he's been pitching in the minors for a while. So, yeah, there's not a huge pitch count limitation there. And the Angels, I mean, we know they're the highest strikeout team in the league against pitchers from both handednesses. So, yeah, I think Garcia's in play for sure.
If the people can't tell, and maybe, and I'm hearing it from you as well, and I just don't have a ton of conviction. It's just like, it really is tough. I don't like saying, well, make your stacks, make your offensive, the hitters you like, and then play the 2 pitchers that fit under that, the salary constraints. But that's kind of how I feel. And if I happen to have the salary for the Miz, if I happen to have the salary for Green, I'm willing to play him, but I'm also not forcing them. And I'm perfectly fine stepping down the Bayo. Perfectly fine stepping down the Luis Garcia. You could play Bailey Ober, of course, but
we also have people in the chat asking about Charlie Morton, who's my age.
I mean, shout out to him.
Just about as unpredictable as everybody else.
I don't think I'm going to go the Charlie Morton route against the producer Steve's Mets, but you can, I guess. It's not something I want to do though.
The Mets have been hot. I'm not feeling Morton today either.
Let me see this particular lineup as far as the iteration. The Mets, they beat up on the Marlins. There was a weird series with the Marlins because there was a lot of runs scored in Citi Field. But yeah, I mean, 20.3% collectively as far as striking out. Most of these guys are contact hitters. Essentially, everybody with their catcher situation's a mess right now. In the green when it comes to ISO. A lot of power against Morton, and the K is actually pretty good, 23.6%, especially against lefties this year, 25.7%. But I'm not playing Charlie Morton. But if you want to, by all means, Blender would tell you you're allowed to do that. But you don't have a lot of conviction as far as pitchers, right? My conviction is pretty clear. I don't know.
It's just not there today. We have if you just take our projections on DK, we've got 9 pitchers between 15 and 18, like 4 more between 12 and 14. Like, it's just, that's what it is today.
Yeah, the biggest projection as a median projection is, according to our projections, Sonny Gray. But again, it's like you said, it's pretty condensed. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I counted that correctly, 8 guys with a median projection between 15 and 18. So, and then there's kind of maybe it's 9. I might have miscounted. It's tough. It's a tough day, and that's why I don't know how much. If somebody's happens to be like super popular, and we'll see how that works. As of right now, we're seeing Minaya as the most popular at 32%, but it's really close with Minaya and Gray and Strider. And this, I just wish the weather wasn't so perfect for Strider to kind of get away with it today against Chicago, which I think 7.5 total with Atlanta and Chicago. Ray on the other side. No, wait, did I get that correct?
Yeah.
Colin Ray on the other side. I still think that maybe they're just not homering, but I don't know if they're striking out. Just the way he's just not been able to strike people out of late. It's a little bit alarming. And you were talking about how just kind of his location has been off as well. Anything else you want to note here as far as pitchers?
No, let's move
it. I'm checking out the Discord channel. I want to see if we had any winners. Cards last week we had 2 hole-in-one, and nothing tilts me beyond when they get the movie in one guess. I'm just so tilted. I'm so angry.
I mean, your only clue was, only leaves a million choices.
You would think so, but and then several times we had a hole-in-one off of similar clues, and then then all of a sudden everybody puts on their Tim Buell hats and people are saying it's rigged. It's a whole thing. I don't know why. I don't know what my motivation would be, but there are Discord channels dedicated to this. People are on top of it, but we are moving forward with nobody getting the today's movie. So the second clue will be death, American and death. That is the first 2 clues for Movie Monday. All right. So somebody just tuned in right now. They missed the first our excellent breakdown of pitching. They just tuned in, Cards. So you got to give them a breakdown how you're handling pitching on this 10 gamer on DraftKings.
No clear-cut answers for you today. There's probably about 10 pitchers that you could make a case for, and if you want your own personal preference to decide that, that's totally cool. I think Sonny Gray is the safest SP1 choice. He's probably my SP1 choice. A high strikeout opponent, pretty good weather for pitching. It's cooler in the Midwest right now. A's are only projected for 3.5 runs, negative park shift for the A's. I'm probably going with Sonny Gray as the SP1. That doesn't mean he's no doubter. I just have questions about the matchup with Hunter Green, the performance from Spencer Strider, the pitch count for Mizorowski. Like, the Brewers are not just going to let him go all out right now. They are in playoff preservation mode at the moment. GPP options. Dean thought Brian Bayo was okay. I don't hate that. Luis Morales, I think, is my favorite kind of lower owned pitcher. Maybe Parker Messick as well. The safe, cheaper choices are Bailey Ober and Sean Manaea. I don't love either of those guys for ceiling purposes, and they'll probably be a little bit over-owned. So don't love going there in tournaments, but it's just pitching today. It's not that great. And we can just make our choices with the bats. Like, if you find a lineup you like with your bats and you're $300 over, like, just change a pitcher and it's probably going to work out okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Sometimes, like, I'll blow it up and try to make sure I get a certain pitcher in. I'm trying to wedge one in. But no, it's just like, if I like a particular lineup, okay, these are the 2 pitchers that fit, that are in, they're at least in the pool. They can dip their feet in. Okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. Should also mention this is September 1st, which means rosters are expanding. No longer like a 40-man roster, but we're at 28. We have 28-man roster, so I know a lot of players are being called up. We see Sal Stewart is playing baseball today for the Reds. George Valera for Cleveland. I did want to pull up Valera because I was curious what his K rate was in the minors. I can just tell you that the bat projects him to strike out in the majors at 26.7%, Steamer at 28.6%. So just for Bayo's purposes. And the only thing with Bayo is he's like a ground ball savant. He's at the biggest ground ball rate on the slate. So assuming he dodges getting babipped, the old BABIP, he probably shouldn't get his face punched in, which is, survival mode to some degree is what I want for my pitchers today. So Bayo is, by default, one of my favorite pitchers on this slate. Some guesses going through. Oh, this is a good guess. It's not Rocky IV, but I see what you're doing there at Rocky IV. It's not Meet Joe Black or No Country for Old Men or American Beauty or The Great Gatsby or Rocky II. All the Rockies are being guessed. Rocky, very sad. Or Tropic Thunder. But yeah, get those guesses in the Discord channel. Get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. More clues dropping momentarily. Okay, so Cards, so today's tiers category, and the tiers are always fluid, right? It's today what we're talking about, and it's maybe an instant result, maybe it's unfair, some may say otherwise, but we talked about the college football season getting kicked off yesterday. You said some of the games were not especially spectacular, but there are there's five well-known people in this family. So it works out perfectly. We rank them 1 through 5. 1 is elite, 5 not so great. 3 is smack in the middle. I power ranked SDL Cards. I power ranked the Mannings. So let me know in chat who is the best Manning, who's the worst Manning. We power ranked Mannings. Of course, we saw the debut. No, it was the season debut of Arch Manning this past weekend. I don't know if you saw my official list. I mean, there's no surprise as to who's going to be on the board, but I'm curious if you have any hot takes. I had some takes, and I actually did a hint of research about the Mannings too. He says, I'm going to go full fledged on this. I don't think it's a conversation, Cards. You can tell me otherwise. Peyton Manning's got to be number 1, right? It's not a conversation. Yes, best Manning of all time.
Well, see, I think it depends on what angle you want to come from, right? Like if the patriarch does not exist, we don't even have this conversation, right? If Dad's not around, what are we doing? We're not even doing it. So that's the only argument, I think.
Okay. And he probably put a football in his hands when he was a kid, so you sort of triggered the whole thing.
Okay. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but yes, if I was ranking them, I'd say you got to put Peyton at the top.
Yeah, Peyton number 1, Eli number 2. I know a lot of people like to hate Eli, but 2 Super Bowl championships. I think Eli's got to be number 2, and this is where it might get a little controversial. But we got Cooper Manning in the 3 hole. It's because it's undecided. We don't know. And if you ask the Mannings themselves, Eli and Peyton would say that Cooper was the most gifted athlete of the 3 of them. He unfortunately had an issue with he had a spinal issue, which ended his career, I think, in high school. I want to say he was a wide receiver. And so we don't know how good Cooper was going to be. So he was never really given a chance.
Well, everyone thought Arch was going to be the number 1 pick next year. Now we're putting him at the bottom because of 1 game. No recency bias in this at all.
The tiers are fluid. This is today. In DFS, we care about today and today only. And in tiers, we care about today and today only. And here's the thing with Archie Manning. And you think Archie Manning is a spectacular player, and you hear the name and the legacy of the Manning family. He played 13 seasons in the NFL. And I know he's on some tough teams for New Orleans and maybe in the best talent around him. He played 151 games, right? 151 games, Cards. How many touchdowns did he have 151 games?
Who are we talking about?
Archie Manning. 151 games. How many touchdowns in 151 games?
Is this at the pro level?
This is the NFL. 13 games. Yeah, I guess it was the NFL. Yeah. Did he play in any side? No. I think this is the NFL.
I mean, I feel like you're asking me this because the number is going to be a lot lower than I would have normally guessed.
I'm framing it. I am framing it in a way.
I'm going to say 95.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised when I was kind of digging in.
If it's under 1 per game, I would be surprised.
Well, color yourself surprised. 151 games. Now, to be fair, 139 starts. 139 starts, 151 games, 125 touchdowns.
Yeah, under 1 per game surprises me, but I guess it was a different game then too, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a follow-up question for you. 151 games, 139 starts. How many interceptions in 151 games?
I don't feel like he was Brett Favre here, so we not. I'll go with 80.
173.
Woof.
125 touchdowns, 173 interceptions.
That's not great, Bob.
Yeah, Peyton Manning and they overcame those genes. They overcame it. You got to give them a shout out because that is terrible.
You've pushed the narrative very well here. You clearly planned this. That was well done.
And yet somehow Arch is in the five hole
because of one game against Ohio State on the road.
Well, I mean, that's what you got to do. The first take has taught me that I'm supposed to. That was a must-win game yesterday. All the games are must-win games. That was a must-win game, and they blew it, and he blew it, and that's it. His career's over, right?
Sadly, though, it's not a must-win game anymore in college football when you're Texas, right? You can lose, UCF can go undefeated and not win the national championship.
Well, they did. They had I don't know if you know this. They threw a parade. I'm
aware. Yeah,
they threw a parade in Disney World, and that means it happened. That meins it was real.
So, but Texas can lose, 2 games and they'll be fine because the SEC is right. The SEC is elite. So,
do you like? I guess it's kind of a push pull. Do you like the playoff system? And I guess that's kind of the draw. The negative is that there's no this is the game you must win because
correct.
Everybody that's really good is just going to fall in line and get in the playoffs. So,
yeah, I mean the expansion bothers me a little bit, and especially with what they're talking about. Pushing the NCAA tournament to 76 teams or something let's just let everybody in. Why not?
76 now? Are you serious? And then they're going to be yelling about the 77th team, how they didn't make it.
Correct. Screwed. It's always we're just going to keep moving the goalposts to the if you can't get in when there's 76 teams, just stop it. And everyone points to the one time that George Mason made the Final Four or whatever, which has probably been 20 years now. Because time goes by so fast, but I don't know. It just cheapens the regular season in all these sports, but you're seeing it everywhere because it's all for the mighty TV dollars and all that. So I'm okay with the college football playoff where it is, but when it inevitably goes to 16 or 24 or whatever, that's getting a little much. Just put the whole SEC in there then.
All right. I knew I would get you going as far as the college football stuff, and I agree with your takes as well. We did get a Cardinals lineup out. It's Newbar, Herrera, Contreras, Gorman, Wynn, Sajasi. It's Sajasi? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think it's Sajasi, yeah. Pajes, Walker, and Church.
Okay, so Crooks isn't in there today. Did not get rewarded for hitting his first home run yesterday.
That's a bummer. I was hoping Crooks would sneak in there. All right, let's go ahead. Let's throw some of these teams in some tiers. The very first game we're going to talk about, again, 10-game slate here. The first game we got is the Marlins. The Marlins in Washington taking on Andrew Alvarez and the Nationals. The Marlins looks like it's a bullpen game. I haven't seen anybody announced as a bulk arm, but Lake Bacher is going to be the opener. I presume it's an opener. For Miami.
And he also got a save a while back, so it's pretty much a hodgepodge.
Yeah, I don't think he's going especially deep. I was looking at the game log on him, and I think we're talking about an inning or two. Let me just confirm. You're not playing Lake Bacher. Yeah, an inning a day or two ago on the 30th and the 28th, so we're talking about one inning. And, of course, the Marlins are starting a righty against Washington because that makes a ton of sense against Wood and Abrams right out the gate, and Garcia and Lyle. 4 of their first 5 hitters are left-handed, but got to start the righty when you're just going to have him out there for 6 hitters. All right. Good job, Miami. Nationals, Marlins, where are we throwing them in the board?
Yeah, this game really doesn't need to exist. Nobody cares, right? These two teams are doing absolutely nothing. It's just I had to laugh when I read Cheese's quote this morning because he said the businessmen in Washington, D.C. will wish that they had to work today instead of watching this game, which just made me chuckle. But I haven't planned this where these teams are landing in advance, but based on how we discuss the pitching, I bet it's going to be a big mess in the middle just because that's what
you got to take a stand cards. People don't like when you ride the fence. You got to take a stand. You can. It's your board. It's all you.
Yeah.
You're going to be building.
So, I do think Washington is somewhat interesting here because you don't know what the Marlins are going to do. And everybody in the world in DFS, when it's a bullpen game, it's just like, oh, we got to avoid this because we don't know what the matchups are going to look like. But we already know that they're starting a righty against all these left-handers. And the Miami bullpen is a mess because they gave up a pile of runs to the Mets over the weekend. Like all the games, the Mets were piling up runs. So for as frustrating as they are, I do think the Washington side is somewhat entertaining here. Wood and Abrams won't be the priority spends for a lot of people. You get some value in the bottom of the order. Like it's not like I love Lyle or Josh Bell or any of these guys, but they're cheap. You can fit some, maybe a Coors bat or two around them. Like I think Washington's good enough here to drop into the Eli tier. As a sneaky, I think they're a good sneaky stack today. They're projected for 4.5 runs. And again, it's just who knows what the Marlins are going to do with their pitching staff. It's kind of a wild card spot. So I like Washington on this side of the game a little bit more. Alvarez is a true starter for Washington, basically a league average minor leaguer going against a below average major league offense. The middle of the Marlins order is not.
No Stowers really exploits that. I'm sorry, not to cut you off. I apologize, but I was just thinking that the lack of Stowers really makes that lineup look significantly worse.
Yeah, I mean, Marcy was hitting 9th a while ago, but he's hit a hot spell, so he's hitting 3rd. But it is a lefty spot for him. And like Otto Lopez and Connor Norby, it's not the middle of the order that you want to have. I think Washington has more upside in this game. I'm pretty neutral on Miami as a whole. Throw Miami in the Cooper tier. But if I'm stacking a team on this, it's definitely Washington.
Do you think that teams are going to stop with the shortstop and the first baseman pitching a little bit less with more, expanded rosters? Out of the Marlins added Michael Peterson. It looked like this Arias looks pretty fresh as well. So like a lot of teams now have a couple fresh arms coming in. Yeah. So maybe
I would imagine, maybe you still get one inning late in a game, but I think it was like the Angels last week or somebody brought in a position player in the 7th, which is crazy.
Yeah. Clue number 3, by the way, clue number 3 today for Movie Monday. It's Crow. American Death and Crow. That is your first 3 clues. Tell me what movie I'm talking about in the Discord channel. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Toronto taking on the Reds. Hunter Green, the debut of Sal Stewart, not the player pool, as far as I can tell. Chris Bassett on the other side. Hunter Green, of course, excellent velocity, big time strikeout stuff. But this is a pretty contact heavy Toronto team, and it is a good ballpark to make contact because it is the Great American Ballpark. Blue Jays, Reds. Cincinnati's the slight favorite here versus the Hound, minus 123. Where do you want to throw Toronto and Cincy?
Yeah, tough spot here with these two pitchers. It's also a little bit cooler. It's only in the 70s in Cincinnati today. So I think, and I watched a couple of the Cardinals games there over the weekend. The ball really wasn't traveling that well, at least for, what we would normally see in Cincinnati, right? You see those hot summer months and the ball really travels there. Pretty lowish total in this game. 2 respectable pitchers. I don't love these stacks today. I think, Cincinnati has really been struggling. Their offense maybe played over their heads for a while, but they've lost 5 out of 6. They haven't really popped offensively. Bassett's a guy that's pretty good, rarely gets blown up, doesn't beat himself. I really can't see Cincinnati piling on runs in this spot. So Cincinnati's going to go in Archie, I think. Just the way they've been playing and the matchup, I don't love today. Toronto, interesting because Hunter Green is going to get some ownership. We know he's a big strikeout guy, but sometimes the command can go haywire. We've seen Toronto go off a lot in the middle part of the season, but a really low total for them today. So I don't think I have enough to move them up the ladder very much, but we'll stick Toronto square in the middle as well in Cooper. So I don't have a great take on this game one way or the other. I think you can use both pitchers. I could see throwing a few stacks in, but I'd probably have to be 30 or 40 plus GPP lineups before I'm stacking these teams today.
Hunter Green survives, being a heavy fly ball pitcher in that Cincinnati ballpark. Still 1.4 homers per 9 in the season. That's not perfect. That's not ideal, but it's not dreadful. I feel like in seasons past, it's been hovering around the 2 area. 12.2% homer per, homer fly ball ratio too. So
and that's with a lot of the games with the heat and humidity. But you're looking at like game time temperature today, 79 degrees, only 40% humidity. So just not as usual strong of hitting conditions that we see in Cincinnati most of the time.
And that's not exclusive to Cincinnati. Like, it's just kind of bouncing around. It's going to be 70 in Boston. It's going to be 77 in Minnesota, 75 in Chicago for the Cubs. Wind blowing in, 80 in St. Louis, which is not cool, but like it's been hotter. So there's really no amazing spot. Coors 11.5 total. We'll talk about that game soon enough. And it's in the mid 80s. Wind is blowing in there for what it's worth. Okay, next game that we're going to discuss, that we're going to throw out there, it's Cleveland. Cleveland taking on Boston, 8 total. Parker Messick versus Brian Bayo. I talked about liking Bayo a good bit here. You mentioned Messick has been good, but I'm not sure. Are we sure he's good? I don't know. It's small sample stuff, and this Boston lineup, at least the front half, a little tricky when it comes to guys like Ref Snyder, because he can get the hook whenever he comes in, but certainly he can bang one out in the first inning. Then who cares? You got your homer already. Love seeing Roman Anthony just turn into it's happening. It's happening pretty fast. He looks like he's going to be next 10 years. A big deal there for the Boston Red Sox. Him and Drake May, that the city is theirs. And I guess Jason Tatum when he comes back as well. But yeah, Boston and Cleveland, where do you want to throw them on the board?
So here's my issue with dissecting this Boston lineup, right? Do you want to pay $5K for Roman Anthony lefty on lefty?
Not really.
Probably not. And you look at the 4, 5, 6 guys, right? The way they've constructed their lineup today. Romy Gonzalez in the 4-hole, Ref Snyder in the 5-hole, Nate Eaton in the 6-hole. Any of those 3 guys could flip into Jarren Duran or somebody later in the game.
Eaton's gone.
What's that?
Eaton, I think, is the most likely.
Eaton for sure. But depending on, if it's a tie game in the 7th inning and the bases are loaded with 2 outs and Romy Gonzalez is up, are you keeping Romy Gonzalez in or are you putting Duran in that spot? Obviously this is way guessing game, right? If it's a 10-2 game, then none of this matters. But I just one-offs I think are fine. Like Trevor Story, I think is fine. Alex Bregman is certainly fine. We've got the whole Boston lineup for sub 5% ownership. So yeah, if you like it, I guess go ahead. I just don't love the way this lineup is constructed against a lefty today. I feel like Boston has enough upside where you got to keep them at least in the middle tier as well, but I can't put them above Cooper. So that's where I'm going to drop them. Cleveland, just not a high power lineup. And you mentioned Bayo with the ground balls, rarely gets blown up. There's enough sneaky, with maybe a Schneemann or a Manzardo with a decent power profile against a righty that I suppose keeps them out of the absolute cellar. But I have no Cleveland exposure today. We'll put them in Archie as well.
I was curious where Cardi has it, the pinch hit stuff. And yeah, as we suspected, Eaton 66% pinch hit risk, Ref Snyder 43%, and Romy at 20%. So yeah, otherwise,
yeah, that's probably about right. Like usually they'll keep Gonzalez in there, but unless it's like a super high leverage spot, maybe they would flip him. But yeah, Ref Snyder and Eaton are certainly more likely than Romy.
Yeah. And not that you're targeting a Connor Wong, but that's another spot where like they would use a real hitter and then just swap in the other catcher for him. If that kind of thing, if the situation with 7-7 bases loaded, 1 out, that kind of thing, and Wong happens to be up, he probably gets the hook. Angels and Houston, we just got that lineup. No Moncada, of course, no Turner Ward. So this is no Ohapi as well. Ohapi not in there. Darno doing the catching. Luis Garcia making his debut for the season. Long way back with the Tommy John. He had a bunch of innings he did throw in the minors. 8.5 total. Kikuchi on the other side against him a bunch of righties. Houston is the favorite here, minus 156. We talked about the Angels being pretty strikeout happy, and Joe Adell is batting 4th. Rengifo, Darno, Lugo. You want to see Cavedas in there because he strikes out a ton. I remember I was looking at it the other day that I think it was the Bats was projecting him to strike out like 40% in the majors, something insane. And I don't think he's let us down. I think that's basically what he's been striking out at pretty sure. Let me pull it up now. It's a small sample, obviously, but 41% so far. And it's super small sample, but that's what it's been so far. But you want to see that if you like Garcia. Astros, Angels. What do you got?
So I'm the newbie here. Do you generally just go across in lineup HQ in the same order that they're listed?
No, I use the lineups page, the RotoGrinders lineup page. So that you're wondering why I threw this game at you?
I'm just wondering if we skip the Mets and Tigers.
No, we didn't. Oh, you know what? No. I stand corrected. We did. That was my bad.
Well, that's fine. Let's go back there after this one.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we didn't miss that one. So
that's
all right. Angels, Houston. I can't get behind the Angels lineup currently. Adele's got pop, but without Ward in there, like the bottom of this lineup is just awful. I can't see them going for a ceiling spot here. I think if I'm targeting any Angels, it's like Neto or Trout for one-off power. You could make a case for Peraza basically because he's free and hitting second, but full stacks is largely a no thanks here. We know Houston's got a pretty good back end of the bullpen. So Angels are going. Let's see. We'll put them in Archie too. I'm not going to put them all the way at the bottom. Enough to keep them out of the cellar. I'm probably going to hate myself for doing this, but Houston, boy, I hate Houston. This team, you just can't trust them against righties. And even when they face lefties, it seems like they always disappoint. But if there was a spot for Houston, it's a left-handed pitcher that allows some pop, which is Kikuchi's struggles with walks. He struggles with power. Houston is not being prioritized today. We've got all their bats at under 9% ownership on DraftKings. Houston and we took a break yesterday, didn't touch them, and that helped ease the pain of Houston letting me down time and time again. But here we are against a lefty that struggles with walks and power. If there's any spot where Houston's going to bust out, I think it's a lefty that struggles with walks and power and at lower ownership than usual. So Houston's going in Eli. I'm not putting him up to Peyton. Put him in Eli. Houston has not done anything to deserve a gold star treatment, so they get the Eli tier. No surprise that, like I said, I think we're going to see a bunch kind of in the middle here today based on how the slate breaks down. But yeah, that right-handed power for Houston, I kind of like them today.
Yeah, 8 righties in the Crawford boxes are lurking. You don't even have to get all of it sometimes. You get it over the Crawford boxes down the left field line. Like you said, Kikuchi, vulnerable to righty power. A fly ball lean as well. I don't hate it, but except that, if you just change the name, if you call them something else besides Houston Astros, because I think we've all kind of been burned by them many times this season. And even their ISO stuff looks really good. You have multiple guys here in the 200 plus, and obviously it goes without saying you can play Jordan left on left. I know that Kikuchi's been fabulous this season. 71 ISO versus lefties this year, which is pretty sparkling. A great K rate as well, 28.7%. But Jordan doesn't care. He can hit lefties just fine. And if you're stacking Houston, you don't absolutely have to. You never have to have anybody in your stack, but ideally he is in your stack. The fourth clue for Movie Monday. No winners just yet. We have American, Death, Crow. The fourth clue, maybe this will get us there, is Twin. American, Death, Crow, and Twin. Get in that Discord channel. Tell me what movie I am talking about. Question for you, Justin. Who would you start a Houston stack with? If you were to play, who's your 3 favorite Astros?
Hang on, let me go back there. I had moved my filter. So Astros, yeah, I think Jordan still makes top few left on left.
Yeah.
I'd put Walker in there just because we know he's always had the power profile against lefties, and we got him at 4% ownership today. So yeah, I'd probably go Jordan, Walker, and probably Diaz because you need a catcher on DraftKings, and that he's 3,400. Otherwise, probably Altuve or Correa.
Okay, next game is the White Sox. The White Sox taking on the Twins, 9.5 total. Bailey Ober throwing baseballs against. Well, when did this change? Fraser Ellard is throwing baseballs for the White Sox. I thought it was somebody entirely different. Oh, we're supposed to do Mets Tigers, aren't we? We'll do that after this one. But I got thrown off here. Cards. Fraser Ellard. Okay. Do we have a pitching change for Chicago? Because otherwise, I see Bryce Wilson.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a bullpen game, I guess. But Savali was still listed on the MLB site as of this morning, so nobody knows.
He's on the Cubs.
Yeah, because he got claimed off waivers and he's on the Cubs now. So was just false.
Okay. Yeah.
But it just says starting pitcher bullpen game. No clue, but it's a White Sox bullpen game, and the White Sox bullpen stinks.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's not worse than Minnesota. Minnesota's current bullpen, because they traded away a bunch of pieces. They have the worst ERA and the worst SIERA, the current iteration of their bullpen. So this is one of my favorite games. I think you can get loose on both sides. How is Ellard a
Fraser Ellard was just called up from the minors. So I am pulling up his if I can find it, his minor league splits here.
I just wonder how deep is he? Somebody that's going to pitch several innings?
So he's pitched out of the bullpen exclusively. 23 outings at AAA, 25 innings. He's got 25 outings in the minors with a 14% walk rate.
That seems bad.
His career minor league, he's been in the minors for 4 years, and he has a 14% walk rate for the whole 4-year stretch. So yeah, this is an opener, and he struggles with walks, and potentially you're going to get Bryce Wilson here at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know the Twins are not special, but they have the highest non-Coors Field total on the board. Ellard is a lefty. Buxton and Jeffers hit lefties well. They're hitting 1-2 today. If Bryce Wilson comes in, we know Bryce Wilson's terrible. We know the middle relief for the White Sox is terrible. Like, because of how it all works salary-wise, outside of Buxton, everyone's cheap. The Twins are going to be my first team at the top of the board here, so we'll put them up in Peyton. Just because of the way this slate works out, I like the Twins. And I think the White Sox are sneaky as well, because you look at the home runs that Bailey Ober has allowed. You mentioned the bullpen that the Twins are rolling out there these days. Kyle Teal and Colson Montgomery have shown some upside for them. We know Tauchman can hit righties. I don't love the White Sox enough to I don't think they're anything super special, but I think they deserve to go smack in the middle here.
That's where I would put them as well. I do like Montgomery. It's a small sample, and I don't totally buy into what Montgomery's doing, but a 336 ISO and 126 plate appearances, at least of note, against righties this season. A 374 WOBA as well. Striking out a ton, too. He's going to fall back, I believe. And Sosa, another guy that has shown some power. And at least theoretically, both these catchers are going to be something someday. They haven't quite been there against righties, but you mentioned both catchers, and they're in the 3 and 4 hole also. But, yeah, and it's interesting, Minnesota's starting their lefties. I would typically be nervous about Minnesota pinch hit stuff, but they're starting their lefties. I assume they're all going to stick around, right? I'm talking about guys like, Larnack, Julian, and Outman historically have been pinch hit risks, but if they're starting the lefties, and who knows, even Ellard even gets to those guys. And that's in part why they're backloading them, also because they stink. That's why they're hitting 8-9, looks like. But, yeah, I'm with you as far as Minnesota. Let's finally talk about producer Steve's Mets. I keep ignoring them, and then it's my bad. They are home today taking on they're in Detroit, taking on Charlie Morton. Sean Manaea on the other side, 8.5 total. Basically a coin toss. The Mets are slight favorites, with minus 114 if you want to get all tactical. We said Manaea, coming from the left side, so makes things a little bit trickier for somebody like a Riley Green. Kerry Carpenter on the bench, almost definitely. I shouldn't say definitively, but Jahmai Jones does not seem long for this game. Yeah, don't get excited about the leadoff hitter that's cheap, because he possibly 2, maybe 3 at bats, depending on how long Manaea sticks around. He can turn into Carpenter really quickly. Mets, Detroit, what do you got?
Yeah, Detroit with that lineup. I'm not super high on Manaea because he doesn't go mega deep into games, but we know that he doesn't get blown up very often either. He's pretty safe. Don't love that lineup construct for the Tigers today. We're putting them in Archie. 4.2 run team total. I'm not going to prioritize green lefty. Just not much interest in the Tigers here today. The Mets, boy, I can't figure out why nobody wants to play the Mets. Like Charlie Morton, if we rewound to May,
it's a
like
weird season.
When Charlie Morton had a 65 ERA for the Orioles, it was like everybody running to stack against Charlie Morton. Here, take my money.
Yeah.
Then Charlie Morton has a few good starts, gets traded to Detroit, has a couple good starts. But like this guy is still 41 years old, and again, no slight on being 41 years old because I'm 41 years old, but I'm not a major league pitcher. And you look at his last outing, 5 innings, 5 runs against the A's. It gave up 6 runs to the Angels a few weeks ago. Gave up 7 runs to the Rays in July. Like I know he's been better, but when Charlie Morton is bad, he's really bad. And the Mets have the highest WOBA in the league over the last couple weeks by like 40 points. Like nobody is targeting the Mets here. Their team total is lower than I expected. All the ownership in the single digits. And I get it. Your people are going to want to prioritize the Giants and Coors. But I think the Mets are a sneaky second tier squad today. Put them in Eli. I am definitely higher than the masses on the Mets today, and I just think the upside's there.
Yeah, Morton almost 42 in November. He's never been as old he is today. Today is the oldest he's ever been.
He's even older than he was in his last start.
Yeah, you got to factor that in. Somehow. All right, let's drop the 5th clue for Movie Monday. We have no winners just yet. I'm kind of surprised. We'll see if this helps the people. The first 4 are American, Death, Crow, Twin, Oversea. Oversea is the last clue. Get in the Discord channel. Let me know what movie I am talking about. We have 4 more games to go. Crunch time coming in about 15 minutes or so. Cheap and Irrelevant, Kevin Roth. You got Erik Beimfohr.
I have absolutely no clue what Movie Monday the answer is, but I am very curious to see if Microsoft AI has given me the correct answer, but I'm not going to cheat.
That's pretty funny. So I feel like people, I've tried to prove, I've kind of like workshopped that because I feel like people have tried to do that and sometimes it works. Because I once had the 5 words and I plugged it in. I'm like, oh, that's the first thing that pops up. I better not do that. But I did not take the advanced step. You know what? I'm going to give a bonus 6 clue for the people. You ready for it, cards? Bonus 6 clue. STL Cards has seen this movie.
Oh God. Well then my chat GPT are not correct then because I haven't seen any of the ones.
What is it saying? Is there one that kind of stands out or?
Well, for the first one it gave me was The Crow, which I figured certainly wasn't the answer.
That would be too obvious. I would never do that.
However, it could. Was it one of the movies that I mentioned to you last night when we were chatting?
Maybe.
Okay. Then it's down here under other potential connections. Though I would not have put these clues together for that movie.
Yeah, we don't want to make it too easy, but like it all makes sense when we explain them.
You're gonna have to explain Crow to me because that's the one that's throwing me off.
Well, it's gonna blow your mind. Actually,
right.
I think it might blow your mind if you don't already know. The Athletics and the Cardinals 7.5 total. Sonny Gray versus Luis Morales. We talked about how bad this St. Louis lineup is. Negative ballpark chip for the Athletics. We like Sonny Gray a good bit as far as, you got to pick some of these pitchers. He looks like one of the better ones on the bump. And we know how much this Athletics lineup falls off on the back end. Where do we want to put your Cardinals and the Athletics?
Yeah, I just cannot see. I mean, if we go back it's been like 3 weeks since the Cardinals have scored more than 6 runs in a game. Morales is a really good prospect, but I have zero interest in the bats from this game. Like the 7.5 total, cooler weather than normal in St. Louis, which is a pitcher's park. Sonny Gray is a bit of an enigma, but I just don't see this lineup with the negative park shift. Like I have no interest in this game. Let's just throw both of these teams at the bottom.
I love the lack of bias, or it's like, you just know them too well. You know exactly where they belong. Throw the Cardinals there in tier 5. I think it's 3 more games to go.
Put the A's down there too. Yeah.
Yeah. The Athletics in tier 5, hanging out with Arch. Spencer Strider throwing baseballs against Colin Ray, 7.5 total. The Cubbies and the Braves. The Cubs are slight favorites, -124. do want to give a refresh as far as Kevin Roth, Chief Neurologist Roth's Weather Edge tool. Last I saw, it was looking pretty positive for pitchers. Yeah, that is the case. Almost a 200-game sample, so a big boy sample. Weather, 75 is the temp. Winds blowing in at 8 miles per hour from dead center. 52 is the dew. Under those circumstances, in 96 previous games in Chicago, we've seen homers dip at a 17.9% rate. Runs dip at a 6.1% rate. So despite Spencer Strider scuffling of late, it's a 7.5 total in Atlanta. This is a slight dog here. I'm curious where you're putting these teams. I'm not excited about either one.
Yeah,
about the Cubs or the Braves.
Again, this is anecdotal, but when is the last time a team has put up a must-have run total when the wind is blowing in at Wrigley Field? I just can't remember it. The park is so sensitive, and you can hit a ball that's going to get knocked down, even in only 10-mile-an-hour winds. Like, you can get a ball that gets knocked down, say, 15, 20 feet. And both of these teams can score runs. Like, if this was a day with the wind blowing out, I would be kind of excited about potentially rostering the Cubs with their power bats against Strider. But today, I just, there's enough, like, pop with these teams that I can't put them all the way at the bottom. But on the same token, with the wind blowing in, it's just 7.5 run total. I just don't see the ceiling. So it's another game where I'm going to lump both the teams together. We're going to throw them in Archie.
Yeah. I wanted to write up the Cubs for like my sneaky stack, in the expert survey, and I couldn't do it because of the conditions, but I figured just fading Strider is kind of enough, if you like the leverage thing. And I think Beimfohr actually may have talked about this as well with the Cubs. But and the other thing is, if they do get to him, not all runs are created equal. They can get 8 or 9 runs and just no homers, and it's just a bunch of singles and some doubles. It's just not the same. And they're not cheap either, right?
Correct.
I don't think we have a winner just yet for today's Movie Monday. I'm going to have to just fire off some clues. I had some additional clues written as we have 2 more games to go and crunch time coming in here shortly. It is not Minority Report or Born Identity, The Prestige. You guys think Card seen The Prestige? Card has not seen The Prestige. I told you guys, Card saw this movie.
Yeah, this is that really narrows down the potential answers here.
I know with certainty that STL Cards has seen this movie. I'll also say this: just note the Cubs lineup for Movie Monday as well. And there you go. That should probably get you there. The Cubs lineup today. Philadelphia and Milwaukee. The Miz, Jake Mizorowski taking on Taijuan Walker, 9 total. Milwaukee is almost a 5 total against Walker here. Bryce Terang has turned into a bit of a power hitter, more so in years past. I think he had 10 homers in this last month. The wheels are there too. So I typically poo-poo the Brewers because the Brewers don't score runs and DFS friendly. You never really know who does it. They don't really homer a heck of a lot. But, they do have a 5 total here against Taijuan Walker. But I'm curious where you want to put Philadelphia and Milwaukee.
Yeah, and Taijuan Walker is hittable. So if there was one day where I'd be okay with the Brewers stack, it's probably today. I don't think today is, they're really never a team I think that's ever going to be like the number one yay go tier. So, but I think against Walker, with how underrated they are as a team as a whole, I like how they've kind of done the lefty-righty split today with their lineup. We're putting them in Eli, I think, for the Brewers. Philly, even if they get to Mizorowski early, which is questionable, just a matter of if he walks too many guys, the back end of that Brewers bullpen is good, even without McGill. They just roll out quality arms out of that bullpen. I'm going to put it's a jumbled 4th tier there, but I think Philly can go with Archie.
All right, so last game on the slate, we talked about it a couple times throughout the show, a 6 total, above a 6 total here for the Giants. The Giants in Colorado, massive ballpark bump, possibly the biggest one that exists in all of baseball. Tang versus Chase Dollander. No lineups just yet, but we're presuming, the standard lineup we're going to get here from San Fran. Devers looks spectacular. Adames, Ramos, Chapman seems like way too cheap on DK. Giants, Rockies, it is all yours, Cards.
Yeah, it's not going to take a genius to tell you that the Giants are going to be the most popular offense today. You got to put them all the way at the top. there's just not a whole lot to spend for that you just feel like you have to have, and it's Coors Field. I mean, the Rockies, the Olander's been really bad at home. We know their bullpen is really bad. The Giants are projected for 6 runs, and the main thing is you don't have the usual Coors Field price bump with this offense. Like Devers is the only guy above 5K. So you can get him in there today. So we're going to put the Giants at the top. But I actually like the Rockies a good bit here too. I mean, we know that despite how historically bad their team is, they're still a top 10 offense in home games this year. If you look at WOBA, you look at ISO, and you know home games only, they're still a top 10 group, and they're facing a rookie pitcher who's not super overpowering, and they were projected for 5.3 runs of their own. Just feels like one of those days that, you know, it's the beginning of the series, so it's not like it's getaway day. We could see an old-fashioned Coors Field banger here today. So I'm putting both these teams in the top. I think we get a wild one in Denver today. There's not a whole lot of offense to pay for. Colorado actually has the second highest team total. So yeah, I in terms of my exposure versus the field, I'll be most overweight on the Rockies and probably the Twins. I think you're muted, Dean.
Oh, yeah. My bad. I apologize. I was coughing there for a second. You were talking about, if you had the over a half of mutes, cash your tickets. Shout out to you. Maybe I tanked there. Maybe I didn't. I didn't tank. That was my bad. You're talking about your personal lineups. I should ask this at the top, to be honest. But what 20, 150? What are we rolling with tonight? How many lineups are we making?
Got 25 today, I think, and going to go overweight on that Coors game at the end. So I actually haven't. It's so weird. I'm usually on up to lock. I'm not used to having I've still got an hour, so I've got plenty of time yet, which is it's a new feeling for me. So
I'm going to go ahead and recap the board. I know crunch time's coming in. Cards. The people are going to want some homer calls as well. By all means, hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Crunch time in the bullpen coming in here shortly. If you're joining us now, joining us late, I power ranked the Mannings as things are today, right now. This is a fluid power ranking, but as things are right now, we power ranked Mannings. I should have considered Taryn Manning. Taryn Manning was not considered for whatever reason, but we have Peyton. Peyton in tier number 1. 3 teams up there. It's Minnesota. The 2 teams in Coors, that's San Fran and Colorado. Eli Manning, tier 2, Washington, Houston, the Mets, the Brewers. Cooper Manning, that is the Marlins, Toronto, Boston, the White Sox. The most popular tier is Archie Manning, who I exposed earlier as being a fraud, if you guys missed that. Cincinnati, the Angels, Cleveland. It had to be sad card. Somebody had to call him out 30 years later, 50 years later. Cincinnati, the Angels, Cleveland, Atlanta, Detroit, the Cubs, Philly, and in tier 5, hanging out with poor Arch, it is the Athletics and your St. Louis Cardinals. We did get a winner in the Discord. Shout out to Ballers with 3 or 4 Z's. I will go ahead and tell you how we got there. Do you know the answer cards? Did you figure it out there with the?
I did. I mean, it was the one that was suggested. So yes, Little Big League is the answer, but you're going to need to put these clues together for me.
So I don't want to spoon feed you on clue number 1. I don't want to make it too easy, but clue number 1 was American. American was in reference to. God, why did I call it American? I think it was for American. Oh yeah, for American League, and also the Minnesota Twins playing the American League. It's Little Big League. It's American League, and there's 2 answers. There's 2 kind of minor clues there. You've heard of the American League, the AL. That is clue number 1. Clue number 2, death. The movie starts with the death of a 12-year-old kid. His dad. Spoiler alert. His grandfather. His grandfather dies, and he inherits the Minnesota Twins. And he, of course, like any other 12-year-old, says, "You know what? I'm going to manage the team. Screw it." And he becomes the manager of the team. So there's a big death. There's a major death in the movie. Clue number 3, and I guess you don't know this fun fact, Cards. This is going to blow your mind. I said pay attention to the Chicago Cubs lineup. You know Pete Crow Armstrong? You've heard of Pete Crow Armstrong, right? You're aware of him, PCA?
I have.
His mom, PCA's mom, his real-life mom, played the mom in Little Big League. She was the mom in Little Big League. She was the kid's mother. So there you go. That is the tie-in.
Okay, is that the tie-in to Crow as well?
Yeah, that is the tie-in for Crow. Like Pete Crow Armstrong, his mother was the lead actress that played the mother in Little Big League. Twin, the movie revolves around the Minnesota Twins. So that's what we're talking about, the Twin Cities. And clue number 5, oversee, is just another way of saying the kid was a manager. The manager overseas. So that is your 5 clues. That
makes sense with the others. The crow one threw me for a loop.
Yeah. Well, I was afraid to, like, if somebody would get that, if somebody could piece that together right away, they'd be on top of it. But yeah, you ran down some baseball movies, and I'm like, let me make one of these. Let me make one of our movies today.
Actual, let's see. So the Chat GPT answer, the Microsoft AI answer that I got that said other potential considerations says Little Big League, keywords, American, Twin, team name, a family sports film about a 12-year-old boy who inherits the Minnesota Twins baseball team and becomes its owner and manager. Ashley Crow stars in the film. So it was like the 6th guess behind the Crow and Monday and the Twin and overseas because of the keywords, I think. But Little Big League was at the bottom of that list. So
thank you for telling the people how to cheat going forward. I appreciate that.
That's tough though. That was tough, and it didn't pin that down until you got like 4 clues deep.
Yeah. Did I give you enough time? Do you have any homers? Any bets? Do you have any bets out there on scores and odds?
I haven't put any bets in yet today, but I do like some home run calls. So I came up with 3 while you were going through that there. But do like the power of Christian Walker against a lefty that struggles with power. He's around plus 350. I'm not going to give you any Giants guys because they're all super inflated odds. But if you want somebody in Coors Field, Mickey Moniak has really good power numbers against right-handed pitching this year, assuming he's at the top or hitting second where he usually does. I like him. He's around the same odds. And if you're looking for something a little more YOLO today, I like the Twins a lot. And if there's one hitter that tends to feast on bad pitching and just can sometimes have a big power game, let's go with Royce Lewis around plus 500 as well for a home run today.
I like that call. Cody Clemens not starting. I wonder if he jumps in for somebody, but maybe not. Maybe not. He's another lefty. They didn't start all their lefties today. But okay, let's seamlessly segue. We have Crunch Time coming up right now. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, Tasteful Tides, Tim, as well as Erik Beimfohr. It's Crunch Time right now. Oh, wait a second. What's going on? Is Roth on vacation? We got vacation, Roth?
Is it Labor Day?
Looks like he's in the water right now. That feels like a
green screen. Because Roth's green screen doesn't work. His green screen is actually you see green. But I think he's actually on a boat.
I am on a boat. I'm currently on a boat. This is the first ever Crunch Time from a boat.
Are you in Tim's backyard right now? Is that what's happening?
I wish, but Tim, you got to come down to Galveston, man. We can, we'll visit each other.
I was gonna say you should have told me I could have sat on my beach and done the show from my personal beach.
Should have brought my aviators.
Who wore it better? Kevin Roth or Tom Cruise? There you go. Set up the poll. Wow, that is pretty. Oh, did we catch anything? How long ago did you get in the boat there? Did you forget that you were on a show and realize, oh, wait a second, I can't get back to the house? This is all Monday.
So what happened is the house's internet wasn't really working. I'm on a boat next to the neighbor. One time I needed to steal the neighbor's internet, and I don't know if you saw the show. They got me incredibly drunk. They just fed me whiskey, but I still have their Wi-Fi code. So I'm on a boat. I pulled up next to the neighbor's house there, and I'm stealing their Wi-Fi. Wow. To get the show.
And their beverages? Do you have a beverage within like arm's length away from you right now?
It's not yet noon here, my time, so we're giving a little bit before we start.
When does that ever stop you?
It's coming soon, I assure you.
Yeah, and thankfully, I don't want to speak for you, but I think I didn't give a refresh. We're clean as far as weather, so you're pretty much in chill mood, right? We're good weather-wise?
Yeah. If there were weather concerns, I wouldn't get ridiculously drunk, but there are not. So I do plan to get ridiculously drunk.
Cards, anything else before you step out of here and make way for Roth, Beimfohr, and Tim for Crunch Time? You got anything else for the people before we exit?
No, all good. Hope you all have a great Labor Day holiday. And Dean, it was fun to do a show with you.
Yeah, man, it's been too long. Hopefully we make it happen soon enough. It was fun talking a little bit of baseball with cards, but I'm going to step aside and get out of here. Enjoy your Labor Day, everybody. Good luck today. It's Kevin Roth. It's Crunch Time. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it. Ladies and gents, you know the drill. It's Crunch Time. A little different here, a little earlier, but we're still bringing the vibes. We got a big old slate. We got a lot to talk about, of course. And as Dean mentioned, the most interesting weather concern is right there, because there's a pretty good shot that I get stormed on as we move through the day. So we will monitor the clouds behind me, but I don't think we have any rain concerns in the games. How you boys doing on this Labor Day? Beimfohr, how are you?
I am wonderful. This has been an eventful weekend from like a content perspective. So you guys know Rob Coakley, who does a little bit of RotoGrinder stuff, the Pick Six show behind the scenes and everything. He does stuff for me with Spike Week. Obviously, this weekend is a big fan, season long and best ball fantasy football weekend. And he decided to do the longest ever fantasy football draft stream ever recorded, and did 36 straight hours from 9 a.m. Saturday morning to 9 p.m. last night. And then I wake up this morning and get on a show with you when you are literally on a boat. So it has been an eventful couple of days of content this holiday weekend.
Coakley he's one of the weirdest and most genuine and interesting people I know. Like, he's a real weirdo, right?
Oh yeah, he's the absolute best. He is who he is. He is a very unique animal. I've made fun of you from our Super Bowl karaoke times, but Rob had I also can blackmail Rob from his karaoke performance on the old phone. That will never go away. Dean will have to do instead of a movie, which song did you guys sing as his clues of the day sometime.
We can power rank RotoGrinders karaoke performances. And
yes.
Boy, mine's going to be low on that list. So
I don't know about
singing
that.
I'll Make Love to You and humping the stage. Mistakes are made. We got TastefulTides in the house as well. Tim, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, I miss Rob. Rob used to produce shows here, especially on the weekends when I'm on a lot of shows. So I definitely miss Rob. I do watch Rob and Erik every now and again doing best ball stuff, because I'm currently playing best ball myself, and I can't wait for NFL to start. So we're getting right down to it. So it's definitely it's exciting times in the sports world right now.
And does Rob also have a ghost show, or am I making that up?
It is it's really good.
It has like a lot of followers.
They do really well. Good. Yeah,
it's amazing. What a character. Okay, anyway, the people are here because we got to give them some winners, right? We've got day baseball. In fact, I think we've got all day long baseball essentially. And the people want to know who's hitting some bombs, who's getting 10Ks, and where's the weather an issue. And really, rain-wise, we don't have any concerns, but it's definitely noteworthy that winds are blowing in a lot of spots. Mostly, though, winds are blowing in at Wrigley, and that's the only one that really stands out. Even just a 5 to 10 mile per hour wind at Wrigley does matter. It's not the end of the world. Can't hit home runs. I think it's maybe like an 8 mile per hour wind blowing in, but it matters in Wrigley. So not my favorite stacks over there, but outside of that, I don't think there's anything you need to be too concerned with. Let's dive into it on the pitching side, and Tim, you can lead us off.
Yeah, so we have a really, really jumbled mess of pitchers today. There isn't going to be one pitcher that I have a huge amount of conviction on. I don't think anyone's going to have a huge amount of conviction on. It's definitely a lot of these guys are priced kind of similarly. They have similar matchups. They have similar K props. It's just kind of a jumbled mess. I'm going to start in the 9K range. We've got Hunter Green, we've got Sonny Gray, and we've got Jacob Misiorowski. Out of those three, Sonny Gray, I think, is the safest going up against the Athletics. There's no Shea Langeliers in the lineup today. There's a lot of high K guys in that spot. So Sonny Gray is going to be my SP1 in single entry in cash games. SP2 is when things, I think, get pretty complicated. Hunter Green is the most talented pitcher at 9,500, but he also has the worst K matchup in all of baseball. So he's getting X'd out for me. If you're making multiple GPP teams, he's absolutely fine. We know he has a ceiling. I just don't think this is a very good matchup for that ceiling. Same kind of thing with Jacob Misiorowski at 9K. We don't see him getting really much of an extended leash. Currently, we have him projected for 83 pitches. His price is a little bit high, and again, the matchup is not outstanding. So Misiorowski for me, I think would be an X out outside of making, say, 10 or more teams. He could be in the pool, but in 3-max single entry stuff, I'm not playing him. So going down to the 8K range, it's probably going to be Sean Manaea for me as the cash game SP2. I'm a little bit worried about his ownership though in GPPs. just because, the Tigers are not exactly a team that we necessarily want to attack. So 8,100 for him. I think he does have a little bit of an element of safety, but if you want to fade him in GPPs, I have no issue with that. I would be looking to get to guys like Luis Morales at 8,500 going up against the Cardinals. Parker Messick at 8K going up against the Red Sox. I like in that same range. Chris Bassett, I like as well at 86. So really, there are some pivots there that you can get away from Manaea, but Manaea would be my guy. Would be my SB2 in cash. And then going below the 8K, it's Luis Garcia. And depending on which projection system you use, it's some projection systems have him around 70 pitches, others have him around 85. In his last rehab start, he got 75. So personally, I'm putting him at 75. In this matchup against the Angels at 7,500, I think he's definitely viable for GPPs and even single entry type stuff.
Okay. Very good. Beimfohr, I want to bring you in, see in the chat, talk a little bit about the Miz, Jake, and Alex, both saying they're getting Mizzy. Are you on the Miz train?
Sort of. So I think Tim broke it down like perfectly, like kind of the whole vibes of the entire. It's a very weird. Like I think you can play a bunch of guys and you don't feel really comfortable with any of them, and Mizorowski is one of them because we have some really talented pitchers like Mizorowski, like Hunter Green, maybe like Spencer Strider. I'm not really sure what the current status of Spencer Strider is from a talent perspective. It has been really, really bad for a while now. But anyway, you have the talented guys in like the truly worst matchups. So you either play the talent and just deal with really, really low strikeout opponents, or just really good offenses that the best pitchers are facing. I even think the likes of like Sonny Gray and Sean Manaea, who are in a little bit better spots, those spots are not like super clean. This is certainly not the Rockies. This is not, what the Nats have kind of become, etc. And then like Brian Bayo, who has a theoretically pretty good matchup. It's in the lineup of all lefties. And we really want to get more righties against Bayo. So everybody has problems, right? Every single pitcher that you might want to play has issues. So if you do want to play into just play the Mizorowski talent, I think that that's totally fine. I'm leaning more into also a couple of young pitchers. I like the cash game stuff like Tim's talking about. And if you can get the Sonnies and Manaeas, whatever, go for it. But in tournaments, I'm leaning into Luis Morales against my just woeful Cardinals. I mean, my God, this lineup is an absolute disaster. It's not like the world's best strikeout matchup, but it's fine. And I think the Cardinals have largely kind of punted the season. That's sort of my issue with Sonny Gray. The matchup is fine, but I don't think you're going to get like Sonny Gray run out there like, let's go win the game for us, throw 110 pitches. We have him for 91. I would not be shocked if he's somewhere in the 80s. And so I don't love him in tournaments. Like I said, I'm looking to I like Mizorowski in that regard as well. But for me, Morales on the opposite side is kind of like a leveragey play, right? He's not necessarily like any specific leverage himself. But if Sonny Gray does get beat up a little bit and you have a good Morales performance, you get the win, et cetera, particularly valuable on FanDuel, but also on DraftKings. And then what's the Parker Messick is another one. It's been like up and down lefties against the Red Sox. It's a little bit worse right now, but their best hitters, generally speaking, are left-handed. And they have some fine right-handed bats in the lineup. But I think Messick is another young guy who I like to take the shot on these guys on these kinds of slates where everybody has flaws, and just the major strikeout upside of a really young, talented pitcher. That's what Mizorowski is, of course, but I think people will gravitate a little bit more to him. So I'm even looking to Morales and Messick as some salary savings, but also just a slightly lower owned version of some of the Sonny Grays and Manaeas, because when we get to the bats, I'm definitely eating some chalk with some hitters. So we got to get a little bit funky at pitcher.
Yeah. Okay. On FanDuel, you get one pitcher. Is there anything pricing that is different there and worth noting, Erik?
From a pricing perspective, it's all still kind of a big jumbled mess. I don't think there's anybody that like truly stands out on FanDuel. Let me just double check that I'm not missing anything.
Manaea's an even better. Sorry, Erik. Manaea's an even better. Manaea's an even better play on FanDuel. He's 8K. But 10.5K for Sonny Gray is fine as well. But I think Minaya is still way too cheap over there. So I think he's a little bit better of a play on FanDuel at 8,000. Like 8,000 on this slate. I mean, you can pay it for everybody.
The only problem, right, on FanDuel is no Giants. No, some of the best hitting options are not on this early slate on FanDuel. So that's the kind of weird, is like, who are there guys you really want to pay up for on FanDuel? That's kind of up to each person. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I did quite like the Cubs actually, and they are a little bit expensive. So that would be a potential pairing with Minaya. I know Roth doesn't like the weather there, but I think they're interesting in tournaments. So if you have the bats to spend up for sure, but it's just like everybody, Kikuchi 9,100, Morales 9,300, Bassett 9,600, Messick 9,800. Everybody's just kind of 9 to 10K on FanDuel, so not a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, I will let you dive right into the bats and the stacks. You mentioned doing some Cubbies. Maybe you'll get them at lower ownership as well. Is there a chalky stack?
Oh, yeah, definitely the Giants. It's definitely the Giants. And so I just do FanDuel super quick because I know people will ask about it. Like I said, that game is not on the FanDuel slate. So it's a little bit different on FanDuel. You can kind of play whoever you want. Of course, there are some teams that are lesser owned. The Mets are picking up quite a bit more ownership on FanDuel, but I do like them quite a bit. If you believe in hot streaks, the New York Mets are your team. They are absolutely tearing the cover off the ball right now. Juan Soto is doing Juan Soto things. Brandon Nimmo is having one of his heater stretches. They look good. I think they're just a really good play overall on FanDuel. And the Sotos of the world are expensive. You can use that potential savings on a Minaya, like Tim brought up, to get to some of those guys. Luis Garcia, Tim talked about him from a pitching perspective. I don't really love the Angels. I'm not going to play them on DraftKings, but I think it's interesting because they have some really high upside bats. And Luis Garcia, like even at his peak, is not like, this isn't Tarek Skubal. This isn't like some absolute ace. He actually struggled sometimes with right-handed bats a little bit. And there's this fella named Mike Trout on the Angels who has like historically been just incredible against these kind of right-handed pitchers. And Zach Neto has upside, right? There's a bunch of upside in the Angels lineup that I think is interesting on FanDuel. We'll talk about the Twins for sure. They're really a strong stack on both sides. And then the Nationals, I think at like absolutely zero ownership. James Wood has forgot how to hit, but CJ Abrams is a pretty awesome tournament play. I tagged him in lineup HQ. On DraftKings, though, it all starts and ends with what are you doing with the Giants?
Yeah.
It's just an absolute, like, you can't dream up a better spot than this. Chase Dollander is maybe going to be good someday, but he's not very good right now. He's particularly bad against lefties. It's in Coors Field. You even mentioned, I think, in your write-up, like it's a heat wave, if you will, on the West Coast, and that's like trickled a little bit into Coors Field. It's going to be upper 80s or so today in Coors Field. It's just like all the stars align. So we can talk about a lot of the pivots. There are some good ones. I like the Cubs. If what we're getting from Spencer Strider over the last month is the real thing, I'm not sure. It could be 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. I think he's going to give up some runs today to the Cubs. So there's other options for sure. But for me, I'm finding ways to play the Giants because this is just, these spots are so good. And they do have, right, with Devers, healthy Matt Chapman, Helio Ramos, there's some low-owned play. It's some low-owned or some low upside guys mixed in, but there's also some high upside bats in the lineup too.
Yeah. You mentioned the weather there in Colorado. There's also winds blowing in at 8 miles per hour. So I was looking at Weather Edge. We have a massive sample size, 177 similar weather games. We've seen a 12% increase to home runs over what we typically see there already. Of course, you typically see a lot of home runs. An increase because apparently temperatures in the mid-80s, winds out there over light winds blowing in. So if you're worried about the winds blowing in there in Colorado, don't be. It should be fine. Tim, what do you got for us stack-wise? What do you like?
Yeah, so just to touch on FanDuel really quick, again, like Erik mentioned, there's no Coors Field. All those 4 o'clock games have been trimmed from their slate. So it's really just these 1 and 2 o'clock Eastern time games on FanDuel. Minnesota is my favorite overall stack on FanDuel today for their early only slate. And also, if you're a FanDuel player, just keep in mind they switched their main slate to the 6:40 games tonight. So if you want to play any kind of volume, these day games are not for you. It's really going to be the 6:40 games. But if you are playing this early only slate, it's Minnesota for me. I don't mind Miami. I don't mind some Cleveland also, but Minnesota are clearly the number one for me on the early only slate. Heading over to DraftKings. Yeah, Erik, touched on the Giants. They're the clear number one today. I mean, they're gonna be very, very popular. That's the only kind of hit against them, is that they're gonna be really, really chalky. I don't think that they price these guys on the Giants high enough to keep their ownership down at all. So I mean, it's really gonna be some pretty significant ownership. So I'm personally debating actually making a 5-man of Minnesota on this slate today, just because their team total is right around 5.5, which is a really, really solid team total. I stacked them yesterday. They did pretty well. They were really, really low owned yesterday. Today, I imagine they're going to be, maybe a little bit more popular. They're going to be probably the most popular pivot off of the Giants. But they're going to be probably at least a 3-man, if not a 5-man for me today. The other team, I think that the Astros against Kikuchi, the Astros have been very, very frustrating all season long today, but at least they're facing a lefty. They really struggle against righties. Kikuchi can be pretty wild as well. So I do like stacking teams against pitchers that have control issues, or at least can have control issues. So I think Houston would be my third favorite stack. And then I wouldn't mind taking some shots on the Mets, actually. I know Charlie Morton's been really excellent, but this Mets team is just so strong, and I don't think really anyone's going to be playing them today. So I think the Mets would be an interesting large field GPP contrarian stack.
Yeah. Okay. Very good, guys. Let's go around the horn, talk position by position. The people want to know who they're plugging in. So why don't you lead us off with some catcher talk, Tides?
Yeah. So if you have the money, Hunter Goodman at 5,200. I think we just got that Rockies lineup in. Actually, I'm not sure if there's any big surprises there. I'm assuming, he's batting third. So he's definitely the top option today, but he's really, really expensive. So I mean, he's by no means a must play. Ryan Jeffers, from a points per dollar perspective, and I think likely from your cash game perspective, I think Ryan Jeffers at 3,600 is the top overall play. Yonder Diaz at 3,400 against Kikuchi. I talked about how much I like Houston, so I think he's a really solid option as well. Augustin Ramirez. I don't love Miami as a stack necessarily, but getting to like some minis, maybe a 3-man stack, or just some one-offs, I think is a pretty solid idea. So Augustin Ramirez, I think, is a really nice GPP option. There's not a lot of guys under 3K that I would necessarily roster outside of stacks, except for maybe Edgar Cuero batting cleanup for the White Sox against Bailey Ober. I think that's a decent play, but he would be as low as I would go outside of stacks.
Yeah. Okay. Beimfohr, catcher.
Not much to add. Patrick, if you want to play into the Giants, I don't think we got that lineup yet, but Patrick Bailey in the projected lineup, he's awful, but it's a $3,200 catcher in Coors Field with the platoon advantage against Dollander. I think I prefer Cuero from a spend down perspective, like Tim just mentioned. I'll also shout, we haven't really mentioned, I think the Brewers are interesting as a stack. It's another team that's been awesome. I mean, my goodness, they just keep hitting. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like the lineup that theoretically shouldn't be this good. We'll talk about Bryce Turang, apparently the new Babe Ruth at second base. But William Contreras is actually a very good hitter. And if you have the funds to go up there, I would be shocked, honestly, if he's even like as high owned as we have him, with Bailey at that price, with Goodman and Coors, with Jeffers projecting better at a cheaper price. So just want to shout out William Contreras also.
Take me to first, Beimfohr.
Yeah, that Rafael Devers guy in Coors Field, probably going to be quite owned. Also, probably a pretty good play. 5,500. This is another thing chat has mentioned that, and Tim hinted at it too, that like they just like, it's NFL week 1, and they were like, let's just not really adjust those Giants prices in Coors Field. Like he should. We're getting usually like even these. I'm trying to think of like a Kettle Marte, very good hitter. right? But will be like 6,800 in course,
right?
And Rafael Devers is 5,500.
Yeah.
So it's also quite easy to fit them, which is going to make them owned, but it obviously makes them very good plays. You can go to Dominic Smith if you want to pay down for a different option. I just can't fathom honestly playing Dominic Smith over Rafael Devers in my if you're eating the Giants stack, like I don't know, just play Devers, I think. But there are some other like legitimately good plays. My other favorite play is Michael Busch of the core of the Cubs. I know again it's that weather, it's Spencer Strider, but if you go look at what Spencer Strider has been doing, look, I know the name is there and maybe he bounces back, but like it's been bleak over the last like 5, 6, 7 starts. It really hasn't been good all season, but particularly the last 5 games. I put it in the expert survey, I think, but he struck out 16 guys in the last 5 starts and allowed like 17 runs and given up 7 home runs. He's walking guys. It just doesn't look good. And so if this like the White Sox destroyed him, okay, like it's not just like he's facing good offenses. So if that's real, like Michael Busch is 4,400. You want to avoid the Giants? Like Michael Busch has legitimately better numbers this year against right-handed pitching than Rafael Devers does. So if Spencer Strider's really bad, you're getting 1% owned Michael Busch down there. Tim also mentioned like the Mets. You want to play Pete Alonso? I think he could probably hit a home run off of Charlie Morton or 2 today. And then some kind of like quasi leverage. Spencer Torkelson is awesome against left-handed pitching, and Sean Manaea is going to be pretty popular on both sides. So just another, probably a one-off guy for me. I'm not that interested in the Tigers, but there's a lot to like at first base.
Okay, very good. Tides, Devers.
Yeah, Devers is definitely number one. I did like Matt Olson quite a bit today against Colin Ray, but that weather in Wrigley really decided not to cooperate with us today. So I'm not going to go with Matt Olson. But that could end up burning me. I don't mind the Michael Busch call again. I don't love that weather. I don't really know what to do with that game in general. I was going to stack Atlanta and or Chicago, but just that wind is not cooperating. So I'm kind of out on that game. But yeah, so it's definitely Devers one, Alonso, Olsen if you're brave enough to avoid that weather, and then Lennon Sosa. I keep getting into some of these White Sox as like value guys, just as like fill-in pieces or like mini 2-man stacks. And then Christian Walker would be my lone other first base play.
Okay, let's go to second.
Yeah, so second is definitely not. It's not really great. Casey Schmidt, assuming he's in the lineup at 3,800. He's projected to bat 6th, assuming he's there right in the middle of this, solid hitting spot at 3,800. He's definitely your cash game guy. I don't think you necessarily like have to have him in your GPP lineups, especially if he's going to be super popular. But I mean, he does fill a fairly weak position. Again, I wanted to play Ozzy Albies today. I don't think I'm going to get there in that Wrigley game. If I have all the money, Jose Altuve at 5K. Again, that team has been frustrating, but if nobody's going to play them, I think it's a decent spot to hop on. Bryce Terang, like Erik mentioned, he's the new Babe Ruth. I guess he's okay at 46. Tyler Freeman, again, Colorado's not horrible at home, so I guess you could get to him. And if you really need to just like punt this position, Lennon Sosa and Gavin Lux for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and don't forget about Luke Keyshaw too in GPPs. I like him at 4,700.
Okay. Beimfohr, second base.
Yeah, pretty similar. It is. Tim was being very kind. This is a disastrous position. Casey Schmidt, Tyler Freeman, Lennon Sosa, Gavin Lux. These are the most popular second baseman. And it's not like they're free. Like Gavin Lux is the cheapest between. These guys are 3 to 5K, and they're the most popular because no one projects well at all. Just the course field guys. I like Lennon. So Tim mentioned like some White Sox popping up here and there. Lennon Sosa. I don't want to play him at first base. First base is really, really good. Second base is really, really bad. And he has first and second base eligibility. So I quite like Lennon Sosa here, actually. Bryce Turang, just for anybody that I'm sure everyone watching this has been following, but the Bryce Turang thing is like, I wonder how many times he's been checked for PEDs, like random, gets a random piss test after a game, because he had in 2023 in 137 games, 6 home runs. In 2024, in 155 games, 7 home runs. This year, before August, in 100 games or whatever, he had 6 home runs. So he's about right on the same pace. In August, he hit 10 home runs. He has basically, matched his career production in 1 month. I don't know if this is real, but it's interesting if it is, because the field is definitely not buying it, right?
Yeah.
So he's at least notable at second base, but it's a really, really bad position.
Okay, let's go to third.
Yeah, Matt Chapman, another giant hero. You have to start there because, again, the price is just this is not right. This is 4,500. Matt Chapman is, I'm not sure that's the right price in San Francisco,
right?
Nonetheless, in Coors Field. So he's just a very clear standout here for me. And the position is not awesome either. So that's my difficulty. It's going to make him very popular, but we got to figure out, we don't have to fade all the chalk. We got to figure out how to make it happen if we do very much like this Giants team, like I do. If you don't want to play him though, Royce Lewis, we're going to get this is Royce Lewis's fetch, I guess. We're going to keep trying to make Royce Lewis happen, but 3,100 on that Twins team, which I agree with Tim, is one of the best stacks on the board. We know he probably can't hit anybody that can, throw a decent slider, but I'm not sure he's going to face any good pitching today. So this might be the day for Royce Lewis. And then Connor Norby, another Marlin. There's just sprinkling of some Marlins and White Sox fitting into teams, I think. 3,600. He's come back and hit the ball pretty well. I'm still like semi-bullish on him long-term. He's missed a lot of this season, but is playing well right now and is in a somewhat appealing spot for the Marlins.
Yeah. Tim, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, I pretty much echo what Erik said. Matt Chapman is definitely the clear number 1 third baseman in cash games today. 4,500 seems just a little bit too cheap for him. Royce Lewis at 3,100. He's actually going to be my third baseman in single entry today. Again, that should be a White Sox pitching staff that is well below average. So the Twins should be able to get to them today. So I really do like Royce Lewis. If you're looking to spend down, again, like Mark Vientos at 3,400 against Charlie Morton, I do like that Connor Norby call quite a bit by Erik. Yeah, and then, you could always play J-Ram. I can't imagine he's going to be popular at all as like a one-off. So like Jose Ramirez at 5,500, I don't think it's a horrible play. I don't really like the Guardians as a stack, but you can always play Jose Ramirez just as a one-off.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to shortstop. Tim?
Yeah, so shortstop, Willie Adames, 4,900. Again, I think he should be well over 5K in this spot. So he's clearly the number 1. Ezequiel Tovar at 4,100 would be my next favorite shortstop. On the Rockies, should be batting 5th or 6th today. So I think he's a pretty solid play. Ellie De La Cruz, we haven't really talked much about the Reds. I touched on Bassett a little bit. I kind of do like Bassett in this spot, but you could always play Ellie. Same thing with Lindor. But in cash, it's Adames for me. And then it's one of these other pay up options. I don't think this is really a position that I want to save at. It's one of these top guys here.
Yeah. Okay. Beimfohr, short.
Exact same for me. As appealing as like there can be good point per dollar plays at shortstop, whatever Mason Wins and Otto Lopez's and stuff. There's so much firepower and overall upside that it's really hard to get. And there's so many of them. Like if you play Mason Win and he has a decent game for Mason Win, what you have to avoid still to like not get buried at the position is so many good hitters with so much upside that it's just really hard for me to pay down at the position. Adames definitely at the top. Ellie is always one of those guys. He's also down to 5,000, which is a really nice price for his upside in that good spot. I don't want to play the righties for the Reds, but they have a couple of lefties that are interesting, obviously led by Ellie. That's like Thomas to JC. Like, I'm sorry, but like 24, like I don't care that he's 2,400 because one of these other superstars is going to crush. Francisco Lindor, I quite like. And then CJ Abrams is really the one I would love to like more about the Nationals. But CJ Abrams is one of those guys that is just, especially on like FanDuel, he was projecting like 1%. We have him like 3% over here on DraftKings. He can just like easily hit a home run and steal a base in the same game, steal multiple bases. He has a ton of upside if you want to be, contrarian, play him instead of maybe Adames in your Giants stacks or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. You get to take us to the outfield. By the way, I will note that ever since you complained about going outfield first, I think you've been first in the outfield every single show since that time.
I think so too, and I still don't remember what the order is to figure this out. We've only 100 shows in or whatever, and I still don't know.
We'll get it by the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe next year. We'll try again. We'll try again in 2026. Outfield, as always, is completely loaded. Yeah, Jake mentioned. I'm not sure. Bryce Turang took Ellie's powers. I think at the plate, he went full Monstars on Ellie De La Cruz. But I still have faith that Ellie can hit a home run, especially in Cincinnati. But Coors Field in the outfield naturally just is soaking up all of the top ownership. The top like 5 or 6 guys are all from Coors. I like them. This would be where I would like to get away from some of the ownership, however. Like Jung-Hoo Lee is fine, but he's kind of like a double sitter. Helio Ramos is a fun player, but a little bit better against left-handed pitching. And like Mickey Moniak is also fine. Bretton Doyle's also fine. It's like not like these guys are the best plays and highest owned plays for a reason, but they're not like such good real life players that like I'm that like I can get other outfield points. I'm quite certain that I'll be able to find other outfield points. So I kind of like going elsewhere. This is where Tim mentioned the Twins really pop. The Twins always have like multiple fun outfielders you can play, whether it's spending up for Brian Buxton or down for Matt Wallner or anything kind of in the middle. This was where I did really like the Cubs outfielders also. They've forgotten how to hit, but Ian Happ's actually been pretty solid for them. I was looking at some of his numbers this morning and they were a little better than you would think given like the box score production and the price on DraftKings. So he's an interesting kind of pay down to be contrarian, if you will, in tournaments. And then haven't talked enough about the Brewers guys, but like Taijuan Walker is not very good. And I think on a lot of slates, we would be looking at these guys. Jackson Chourio at 4,500. Christian Yelich is affordable, 4,900. There's a bunch of Brewers that are really, really interesting. Not just Bryce, Babe Ruth, Turang. I think that the Brewers are going to go pretty underowned and could be sneaky.
Okay, good stuff. Tim, your thoughts there in the outfield? I see we've got Jung-Hoo Lee as is that the highest projected guy?
Yeah, maybe Elliot Ramos.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's those two Giants outfielders, and I'm fine with both those guys in cash games. Byron Buxton is my favorite overall outfielder, though, for overall raw points. I absolutely love him today. Again, we've all talked about the Twins today. So, yeah, Buxton is my favorite overall spend-up option at the position. Don't forget about Yordan Alvarez, who I know it's left on left, but he's still too cheap at 4,800. That guy should always be well over 5,000. So it's still kind of a bargain for him. So don't forget about him. I do like these Brewers, Yelich and Chourio. I think that was a good call by Erik. And then it's like some of these Colorado outfielders. I think those guys are absolutely fine. Mike Trout. We talked about him on FanDuel. He's only 3,000 on FanDuel. He's basically like a must play over there, but 4,200 for him. That seems way too cheap. So I really do like him a lot. We talked about Stephen Kwan on yesterday's show, and I can't stand rostering Stephen Kwan, but I do think he's a little bit too cheap here. I think he, at 37, he was 3,300 yesterday, 3,700 today. I don't hate him as like a mid-range play. Same thing with Michael Harris at 36. I think those two guys are pretty decent mid-range plays. And then some of these Twins outfielders like Matt Wallner, I like a lot today. So Matt Wallner at 3,500, I think he's a really, really strong value.
Okay. Good stuff, guys. Let's give the people some home run calls. That's what they're clamoring for. Also, shout out producer Steve, who had the brilliant idea for the late show. I think we've got a show at 5 or so. I will bait a hook and I will fish. I'll just have it out there and we'll see if we can catch a fish live while we do the show. Just, add a little excitement. We'll see what we can catch while we do the show. In the meantime, some home run calls. Beimfohr, you can go first.
Yeah, I put down Trout as one of those home run calls. So piggybacking on Tim's mention there, like he's still really good. He's maybe not like the absolute peak of his powers, but he's still really, really good baseball player, and he's not priced as such. I'm gonna go with Michael Busch is gonna power one through that pesky Wrigley wind. I really, really like him, but also Devers is a first baseman, but I really, really like Michael Busch today. And then the chalk San Francisco Giant is going to be Matt Chapman.
Nice. Tim, you got a few names for me?
Ryan Jeffers is definitely going to be one today. Jose Ramirez, I'll go with. I like that Trout call. His odds are plus 300. I don't know if I'll actually bet it, but I do like that quite a bit. I'll give one more. I'll do Jose Altuve.
Okay. We are 7-8 minutes until lock. Let's see if we can get a few questions. If not, we'll leave early, and I'll go catch some fishies. I'm scrolling up, not seeing any questions here in the chat. Checking the Discord, nothing there. I want to make sure you hit us with the thumbs up for working on this Labor Day, giving you some bangers, getting Tides and Beimfohr out here, helping us out. Of course, we always appreciate you guys jumping on.
You should have let us know. We could have, we could have all done this from an external location. I'm not by the water, but I would have made something happen for sure. There is a pond. There's a pond in my subdivision. I'll go out by the pond.
That'd be perfect. So we know Tim's got the view. Not catching any questions. I do want to make sure everybody is well aware the best deal in the industry with football. NFL is like. It's less than a week away. It's days away, which is insane. Thursday is the first game, correct?
Yeah. Poor Cowboys fans are gonna not have a very good time on Thursday.
It's a rough start to the season. Fantasy Labs, your home for season-long fantasy football and best ball content, rankings, projections, articles, and more from award-winning experts. Make sure you download the app. You got the draft cheat sheet, lineup advice on the go. You sign up with code RG15 for $15 off. Can you play a one-off Mike Trout with Garcia, Tim?
I don't really love that. That's going to really hurt your ceiling quite a bit. So I don't love that.
Especially if he's on a pitch count, right? It's like if he was going to throw like 110 pitches and Mike Trout got him, sure, but he's probably only going to throw 75 pitches. And if Trout takes him deep, that might just end it right there.
Yeah. Tim, right back to you here. 3-maxing FanDuel. You think 2 Manaea, 1 Sunny is the way to go?
I have absolutely no issue with that. I think that's pretty solid.
Okay. Beimfohr, a couple for you. What's your take on Messick?
I quite like Messick. That he's in that bucket of the young guy that I also think this is just a really good slate to take a shot on that guy. Lefties against the Red Sox have been a little up and down, but they have a lot of upside, I think, in this spot. And I think he's very talented. Major strikeouts across the minor leagues. Got to take the plunge a little bit, but I like him.
Okay. Let's see. Ober or Garcia for cash, Beimfohr?
Ober for me.
Lindor for a solo bomb. Thoughts?
Like it.
I like it.
Okay. Tim, thoughts on a Morales and Bayo pitching combo, DKGPP?
I don't really love Bayo. I don't know if Eric's got a different take. I don't think this is a really good ceiling spot for Bayo.
He might survive.
He definitely will. He might survive for sure, but I prefer Morales, Messick, Manaea, so he would kind of fall to the bottom of that pricing tier.
They don't have a single righty in the lineup, Cleveland.
Right.
So that's the problem.
If you're playing a Houston stack, Tim, who would you start with and who would you leave out?
Definitely would start with Walker. Probably Altuve, just because second base is so weak. So and Yonder Diaz. Well, sorry. So I'd go Alvarez, Walker, Diaz, but I also like Altuve as well.
Okay. Top 3 Mets, Beimfohr, FanDuel GPP.
Soto, Lindor. I'm going to go Nimmo over Alonso, but Alonso probably a 3B.
Okay. And then probably the final question here. Can I get a quick recap of a couple DK Cash bets? Much love and thank you, Tim.
DK Cash bats. I would definitely go with Devers. Devers would be definitely number one. Then I'd be getting to 2 or 3 more of these Giants to go with Devers. Chapman and Jung Ho Lee would probably be my next 2 bats in.
Okay. Thoughts on a Marlins 5-man? Beimfohr. Weather Edge loves this game. The pitcher's making his first start, I believe.
The full 5-man is probably a little bit much for me, but I like some of these Marlins. So maybe that does mean they are an appealing 5-man. I just like them as pieces to fit some other stuff at pretty reasonable ownership and try to home run hunt a couple spots.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff, guys. We are just a few minutes until lock. We're going to bounce on out of here. We'll be back later on today for a second show. I'll be a little buzzed. I'll be fishing. It'll be a good time. For Tim, for Beimfohr, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you later on today. Have a great Labor Day. You have been crunched.